All right, welcome to the Healer's Transformation. I am really excited today to have Suzy Wraines with us. Suzy is a business foundation coach that helps women transitioning from a medical profession to starting their own business. And she has a podcast that I love called Starting a Business Simplified. So, Suzy, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Suzy is actually also a graduate of the Trauma Energetics Coaching Certification Program. So we are highlighting her as one of our graduates. But she has an amazing story that I'm really excited for her to share with everyone. And the first thing that I kind of would love for Suzy to unpack for us is how she got involved in like this energetic type of healing. Like what was it that got you exposed to this world of healing? You're a business coach, and I know your background, right? Like did not have this kind of work in it. So please share with us, Suzy, how you first got exposed to this kind of work. And then I'm so excited to hear your transformation through this work.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm a business coach and a very masculine energy and a doer. I'm very much analytical thinker and all of that. And I think I want to go back to when I was a kid and like growing up. I always felt different and I always had a spiritual connection. There was something in me that was always tapped into spirit, into the universe, into something bigger than me. And I always felt weird, like I was a weird person. So when I started my coaching practice and I started working in business coaching, I took it from a very literal, very straightforward do your business plan, do your work, do this, do your that. But inside of me, I was feeling stuck, like something was missing. And so through the course last year, I was doing networking to help build my business because that's what they tell you to do. That's a doer thing, network. And so I made a promise to myself that I would network and I'd meet new people. And that's how I found the Somagetics Hangout, is I was looking for places to network with people. And somewhere, somehow it came across and I saw it and I thought, that's a good place to network. And I'm going to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, these are energy people. And there was a little piece of me that you guys will understand when I tell my story. There was a little piece of me that was like, that's you. Just a small piece. And I was like, but that's not me. Like I resisted it a little bit, but I was like, well, let me be curious. I'm going to get curious about it. I'm going to explore that part of me that I always knew was there, but felt different, felt like I didn't belong. And so I joined the Hangout, the Facebook group Hangout, and started interacting in there and then learned about the membership. So the Somagetics membership, paid membership, where you can go to calls, live calls and interact with people. And I will tell you, the first membership call I was on was really uncomfortable because I was like, am I really an energy person? Is this really me? Is this something that's really a part of me? And so I was testing the waters. I was like, I know I need some healing. I know I got stuff going on. The people that know me that follow my podcast, I was in the army as a medic and I spent a year in Iraq. I had PTSD coming home. I have childhood developmental trauma. I have other stuff that's happened. And in my mind, I'm like, I know I need some healing, but I resisted it. I was like, I don't want to do that until I started doing my business. And I'm like, okay, I'm not making progress. There's something there that's holding me back. So in the membership group, I ended up really learning about those defensive patterns and talking to other people. And I was like, ooh, I'm not alone. Ooh, other people have stuff too. Oh my gosh. And like my world started to open up and I started to feel more comfortable. And Kimberly, you and I met during that time that I was in the membership. I think we
Mhm.
connected. I'd been on a few membership calls and then you and I connected. We had a call, realized that we were going to be in the same place at the same time. So we physically
Physically
got to
in the
meet.
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to actually meet in person as opposed to just on a Zoom call.
Yeah. So it was really exciting because we got to meet and we had coffee and we just clicked.
Mm.
And I'm a business coach. And that was something that you were curious for the Somagetics program. And so you're like, oh, well, tell me more about that. So you and I connected and I ended up joining the trauma energetics coaching program as a student. because as I was learning in the membership, I was learning more about my stuff, learning more about what I needed help with. And I knew that going through the program, I would heal. And I needed that piece of it I needed. So I ended up joining the certification program. And then throughout the course of that, you and I working together and me being in the program, and now I teach the business course. So it all came full circle. So that's how I ended up in this energy, and I'm a completely different person.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it was so fun to meet you in the Somagetics Hangout, our Facebook group. And we just clicked and we were excited to meet in person. And as we were talking more, I was like, oh my gosh, you have what my students need, right? We have at Somagetics, we have a goal of teaching the system that we use for healing to more people.
Mhm.
And if people can't use it in a business and make a profit, make money, make a living, then we're not really achieving our goal of getting this work out to more people in the world. It has to be something where we can give this to the world, but we have to have that energy exchange. We have to make money coming back to us so that we can sustain this. And so we had been wanting for a long time to offer our students more support on how to make a living doing this work so that we really can get this work to more and more people, because this trauma energetics coaching is so deep and so profound and so efficient that we're so excited to get it out to more people. And I just knew that you had the simple tools that people that probably most of my students have never been a business person. They've never owned a business. And so it's a big daunting thing. And you and I were both just talking about how, you start a business and your stuff comes up. It's right in your face because it's not an easy thing to do. And you can either embrace it and work with it and deal with what comes up, or likely your business won't really work. Right? There's too many boundaries. It's too uncomfortable. It's too hard. It's too scary, and it won't work. So I was so excited to just feel so aligned with you, and that what you're offering is so perfect for our students. And so beautiful. Long story short is now the work that you did internally has grown your business, and now you're able to help our students do both, work on their internal blocks and give them the simple steps that they need to put in place, the tangible, tactical steps that you need to have a business. But if you don't move those internal blocks, no matter how good your business plan is, you probably won't be as successful as you want to be. That internal stuff is such an important aspect of being an entrepreneur.
And that has been my journey, because when I came into somagetics, into this energy, I was stuck. And I teach business, but I was stuck in my own business because I hadn't dealt with my stuff. So I would have slugged it out and worked really hard and like pounded the pavement and tried to make it work. And ever since I have been in this energy and working in this with this modality and doing my own personal inner healing, that was step one. Then it opens up and then things start to happen. And that's really what I'm happy to share here today, is my transformation.
Mhm. Tell me when you first realized that by jumping into this modality that you were touching into your own wounds or your own trauma.
So it started at the beginning. So even just resistance, being in the membership. So I'd get on live calls and I would feel the resistance in my body. I would feel myself start to get uncomfortable with sharing. And so that came up. And then once I was in the course, the individual healing sessions.
Mm,
So working with a mentor and doing my own healing, that's when everything broke wide open. And the biggest, the transformation for me, because I've come from being in the military and having PTSD, I worked with, I worked for a year one-on-one weekly with a psychotherapist. And I didn't get anything like I've gotten that I got in like 3 sessions, one-on-one sessions with a mentor here. It allowed me to live. So before I did anything with my own healing, any sessions with anybody, I wasn't living. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to deal with people. I didn't want to be involved in anything. How are you a business owner and you don't want to be with people? I understand we have Zoom and I can meet like this but there's still energy in that. And there's still energy that I was blocking just being on Zoom calls. Like I was not available. I wasn't available to receive. I wasn't available to actually give. I was neutral. And that was a huge awareness for me in my own transformation. Was I wasn't enjoying anything and I wasn't miserable. I wasn't anything. I couldn't tell you what I wanted or desired. I couldn't tell you what I liked and didn't like. Very much just neutral. So the transformation for me was going from absolutely neutral to now I want to live. Now I want to experience stuff. I want to meet people. I want to have interactions. I want to be a part of life, go places, do things. And that was huge for me in understanding that life is to be lived. And I was living in defense. I was living in that safe zone. And my business isn't going to grow if I'm not living, if I'm not expressing myself. So one of the biggest ahas that came up through a session was me being afraid to speak up. It was a childhood thing that happened that I didn't realize I had completely blocked myself from speaking out. Literally, if I spoke up, I would die. That's what was in my head. That was my subconscious thought. And coming from a war zone, when you use the word die, like I know what that means. I've seen it. So that was a significant, I'm a podcast host and I was afraid to speak up. Hello. Well, speaking up wasn't just talking. We can talk all day long, but if we don't talk from our essential self, if we don't talk from who we really are, meaningful words, being an example, being neutral, you can't be an example. What are you an example of? Nothing. Living, what are you an example of? You're an example of what you're living. And being able to express that and being able to talk about it. So that transformation for me was completely, I'm a different person. I'm the same person. I'm the same person living with my gifts, not living in defense, which is what going through. And I got that those personal healing sessions, that's where it's at. For me, that's once I broke into that, then it was easier for me to be a part of the master classes, to be involved, to want to move forward, to want to help others. I've always wanted to help others, but it was limited. I'll help you like this far. And then that's it. Cause I'm too like freaked out to go any further than that. Now I'm like, I'll help you in whatever you need. The confidence in the reassurance, knowing that this works, this modality, because it worked for me.
So Susie, you described so well what we would call like that physiological freeze state where you are neutral. You might even use the word numb, right? Where you're frozen, literally, your whole nervous system, because of your childhood wiring and because of the trauma that you lived, quite severe trauma, I would say, in a war zone as a medic, your system was just trying to stay safe. And that the way that your system was staying safe was by being frozen, numb, neutral, not really living, but playing it safe. Playing it safe. And so, as you said, like you can't be a business owner, a successful business owner, and be playing it safe, right? You want to be able to be in life, to be able to be the example and to experience life for yourself, but we have to rewire the nervous system out of that defensive state, right? And it didn't really work just to use psychotherapy for you, which I hear that from a lot of people, that psychotherapy can be very helpful. But when your whole body is wired into a physiology of defense, just thinking about it and talking about it isn't enough. So I'm wondering if you can share any insights or examples of how this work was different for you compared to the psychotherapy that wasn't real effective for you.
Yeah, I would say so. The psychotherapy gave me a strategy to cope. So it was a coping mechanism. It was a way for me to analytically, which I'm naturally an analytical thinker, to analytically analyze. Okay, what are you thinking about? Oh, now just switch that. Look at it from this perspective, and now that'll make it less difficult. But it didn't help me live. Living is a full body experience. So the difference in this particular modality is me learning how to feel my body, me learning how to feel where the energy was in my body. And that was a new experience for me because I hadn't really, I didn't even like moving my body. Like it was weird to like, I don't know if anybody listening or watching this ever did aerobics, but I hated moving. Like let me just sit still. Let me just be here. And so being able to move my body and listen to my body and ask what that energy means, like, what is that there? Why is that there? What's happening? And be able to voice it in a safe environment, knowing that by me speaking and feeling and experiencing what I'm experiencing, I can actually let it go. I can actually let it go. And I mean, I can remember I did psychotherapy like 10 years ago. And I can remember thinking, nothing's different. I don't feel better. I know what to do when I get depressed. I know what to do when I have anxiety. I know what to do when I have a weird, a thought of something. I don't know what to do to get rid of nightmares because those are subconscious. Those are things that are happening when I'm sleeping. And I can honestly tell you, I suffered with nightmares and insomnia working in the system with medication and psychotherapy and all the things that they throw at you. And none of them did anything to actually make it go away. The difference here is instantly they were gone with some of the things that I'd been challenged with. Being able, and it's hard to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it. And I know we talk about this all the time. Like you have to see it to kind of believe it. But I can honestly say that experiencing the energy in my body, and now I can feel it. Now I can find it. Now I know what, like when and that's living life. So for example, I had an experience, you and I've talked about this. I had an experience in a veterinary clinic. I've worked in veterinary medicine. I had a bad experience when I was working 15 years ago. And I was in a vet clinic and I felt like, and people listening and watching probably understand the word trigger. I felt a trigger. I felt my nervous system go on edge. After doing this work, I knew what to do. I knew how to think about it and really be in that moment and like, okay, what's happening here? Okay, let me just kind of analyze what's happening, what's really going on here. Where before I would have gotten triggered and just wanted to leave. I would have just been like, I don't want to be here. So I would have done everything I could to get through the situation and then jet. And then I wouldn't want to go to the vet again. You got to go to the vet clinic. I have animals. So it stops you from living when you can't get rid of those traumatic experiences that your body's holding on to. I hope that answered the difference. That's my
Mm.
difference.
So I love how you named that. It helped you manage the moment, but it didn't really resolve the situation for you. So you could get through the moment, you just leave, get out of there, but you weren't living. So it didn't get resolved out of your system. You just learned how to manage it in the moment. And then it would come up again, and you would have to manage it again. And then it would come up again. And now you have different tools. And the tools are using your body, not just your brain and your mind and your intellect, right? Really bringing it into your body.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I had nightmares, which is weird, but I had nightmares about the vet clinic situation that I was in, the bad situation that happened to me. It kept coming up I'd have dreams about it. And then I did an energy session, a healing session around that, and it's gone.
Mm. So
I mean, and that's
resolution.
a resolution. That's a simple thing. I'm going to say deep, heavy trauma is going to take multiple sessions. It's going to take multiple work. I still have a ton to work on, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I now know when I need to have a deep session. I
Mhm.
actually know that. I can say, this is hanging on. Something's there. Let me call my healer because I got something happening here that I can't let go of. And I'm going to need some help to do that. So it gives you, you're empowered to make choices. You're empowered to know what's happening in your body, where before I was just not
Yeah.
even existing.
Yeah. Your nervous system was trying to keep you safe by keeping you shut down, numb, frozen, avoiding, leaving, checking out. And now you have the capacity to stay with yourself and to notice when you can handle it yourself, or if you need to get some support from your mentor or practitioner. And you're safe enough in your nervous system now to live, right?
Yeah. I love that summary. That's perfect. I know this is recording. I'm going to grab that because that's a perfect summary. It's a perfect summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the science of safety, right? Being safe enough in your body for you to be able to take action in the world and know or trust that whatever comes up, you'll have access to resources, either internal resources for yourself or your ability to reach out and ask for support.
And what came up for me as you were talking to is that I can now live life fearlessly. And as a business owner, you have to, because you don't know. We don't know what's around the corner. We don't know when we work with somebody, we don't know what's around the corner either. But there's that risk factor that's always there as a business owner because you're doing your own thing. You're doing something that maybe you've never done before. So you're like jumping out of the plane. But can you jump out of the plane and enjoy, the free fall and be like, yes, or are you going to freak out and like be scared? I'd rather enjoy it and
Mhm.
live life, leave my house and enjoy going to a coffee shop
Yep.
versus freaked out. And am I going to freak out when I get there and like living in that anticipated fear?
Mhm.
Now I'm like, I can handle whatever comes at me and I know where to go if I can't.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
Well, that shows the growth that you've had, that you can trust, that you can handle a lot, and you can recognize if this is something where you need to ask for help, and then you have the capacity to ask the right person for help, the healthy person that has the capacity to help you. So that says a lot about how far you've come in your own healing and your own rewiring of um, your trauma history. Oh.
Yeah. And I can give you so January of last year. So we're in February now. So it's been a year. I remember last year in January, because you make those resolution things in your brain. And I remember saying to myself, Susie, you have to heal yourself before you're going to be successful.
Mm.
And that was before I met you. It was before I joined the hangout. Um, and I remember I was like, how? Then all of a sudden my brain went into like, I know I need to. Now, how do I do it? And I think that was the universe responding to me because I was actually searching. It's like, I need to know. And it was like, here you go. Here's this Facebook group that you could join, knowing that I was going to have this little bit of resistance, knowing
Mhm.
that it was going to be uncomfortable. So I feel like God and the universe just said, we're going to ease you into it,
Yeah.
put you in the hangout, and then we're going to put you in the membership, and then we're going to introduce you to Kimberly, and then now we're going to put you in the, because I think if I just dove in head first, that would have been really traumatic for me.
Yeah, you have to find your own pace, right, with this process. But what I love is that you went from, okay, I know I need something, and to go into the how and be open to the possibility of it and ask how, versus the typical trauma response is, oh, there's no way, I can't do it. It's not going to happen. I'm not meant for anything good. But to really shift into that questioning, that state of curiosity opens up the space for something different. So good for you for having the capacity to go, oh, how can I make this happen? And like I have found, boy, it's still scary and uncomfortable, but now that my nervous system isn't so wired in defense and in fight, flight, or freeze, that I can tolerate the discomfort and the fear, and I can trust that I have enough to keep moving forward. And because, running a business and starting a business is uncomfortable and scary. And so your stuff comes up, right? So to have the ability to be curious about what is showing up, you have to have some kind of sense of safety, enough safety in your system to be curious about it, right? And then we build on that. We keep building on that. But really, it's a body-based thing. And you shared your story so well with us about, wasn't just in your intellect, but you had to learn to work with what was happening in your body. Because those of us with a trauma history have been wired into defense. And, I think Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this so eloquently, that we are either in a state of reactivity or creativity. And as a business owner, you need to be in that space of creativity. It's a physiological state in your brain and nervous system, your whole body, in fact, of creation, where you can create and build a business and the life that you want. And if you're not able to move from that defensive, reactive state, you're not likely to have a very successful business. Okay. So I would love for
Mhm.
you to share how you are now using this work, now that we've had your story of your own personal transformation. How are you using this work with your clients that are attempting to start a business?
Yeah. So before I had this work, I did identify I wanted to work with medical professionals, women leaving a medical profession. That's where I came from. And I knew that it was an uncomfortable transition. You're coming from a structured environment where you always know what to do. You have protocols in place. You know, if this happens, do that. It's very much driven by structure and organization and rules and protocols and all of that. That's not entrepreneurship. There's not really a playbook, and it's going to be up and down. It's going to be, you're not always going to know. And so I knew that there was a need there. When I got into this method of work, it worked so incredible for me to heal myself and to be able to accept the uncertainties that come with being an entrepreneur, and the creativity side, where I could actually tap into, ooh, now I can start creating stuff. That opened up a world that helped me to transition from the structure, do it this way, to, ooh, now I can be creative. So that's what I bring to when I work with my clients now. I know that when they're starting out, they are in that place of, this is what I know. I've been doing this job. I have my degree in medicine, and I've been doing this thing that I know that's very structured. You don't even ask for money when you work in a hospital. You don't ask your patient, like, it'll be $560 for your IV today. How do you want to pay for that? Nobody does that. It's like, your nervous system is going to be pinging the first time that you go, and yes, that's going to cost you X dollar. How do you want to pay for that? It's a new experience. And so this work really helps people to heal from those traumas they've had that bring up that defense, so that they can bring in new experiences and know how to handle when they get uncomfortable. Because that's what it taught me. It taught me I'm okay being uncomfortable now because I
Mhm.
know how to handle it. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to run from it. I'm not going to freeze. I'm not going to because I know that I'm okay. And so when I work with my clients now, as they start, like, I want to start a business, and they're all excited, everybody's all excited. And I start talking to them about, okay, so what's your vision, and what service do you want to provide? And then that's when everything, the defense starts coming up. They're not confident. They're not sure. They're uncomfortable. They don't understand. And that's when I say, okay, this is the best time to have an energy session, when you've got stuff that's keeping you from moving forward. I have a client right now, and it's so interesting because she's like, I don't feel like I'm doing the right things. And I said, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I need to set up this, and I need to set up that, and and I said, would you like to do an energy session today? Yes, that would be amazing. And I said, that's what's needed right now. Because if you're going into the panic mode of what do I need to do next, you're not in your creativity. You're in your defense. I'm freaked out. And how am I going to survive? So recognizing that in my business clients, and I always tell them up front that this is something I do. I have a new client who is thinking about starting a business. She's like, I want to do my trauma healing first. I want to work on that first. And then I want to tackle it. And I'm like, that's perfect. Let's do that. It's what I needed. So I'm really just repurposing what I did for myself with my clients, and just saying, we can do all the business work you want to do, but we have to do the healing. There's no way around it. You have to go internally, like you said, in order to be successful. So we can do it either way you want to do it. We can build your business and then heal, or we can heal and then build your business,
Yeah.
or we can kind of do a combination of the two, but they're both going to have to happen. You got to do
Yeah.
both.
Right. So you can be flexible with your client and meet them where they're at. So if they're not noticing any blocks come up as they get started, you get moving with their building their business. And then as or if the blocks, resistance, fear start to show up, then you're able to guide them through a process to help them remove those blocks so that they can continue to move forward with their business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And
So tell
and
me,
I love being flexible with that,
yeah.
because there's sometimes when people are in the zone and they are being creative and they're building their business and they're doing great, but we're human beings and they're going to hit a wall at some point. And I'm ready for that. I'm okay with that. Like, go as far as you want to go. And if I do notice some interesting things happening, then I might pull them back and say, you know what? I'm noticing this, this, and this. How do you feel about doing some energy work around that? Yeah, that sounds good. And it always helps. So yeah.
Hmm. So I love how brilliant that this method of transpersonal energy healing we call now trauma energetics coaching can be implemented into so many different genres. Right. So we have a lot of health coaches using it when their clients get stuck and they're not able to follow the protocol. Those limiting beliefs come in and they start to sabotage. So we can use it in that arena, and we can use it in this arena that you're the expert in building your business. And so what I want the listeners to know is that even if you're not a business coach or you're not wanting to start a business, that we just were excited to share this work with you because it's so powerful. So for people that are interested in personal healing, they can get this work just for their own personal healing. But for people that are starting a business, I promise you that your stuff is going to show up as you move through the steps of starting a business. And so Susie's an incredible person to work with if you need help with getting your business started and you need somebody that can support you along the way as the stuff comes up and triggers you into your fears or your reactions or your overwhelm. Life is going to happen. It's going to show up, and there's simple skills that we can teach you that Susie's really good at teaching you how to move through or navigate through those and new skills so that moving forward, they don't have to derail you anymore. Right?
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on the personal healing, because through all of this, so I shared earlier that speaking up was what I was challenged by. One of the main ones that I was challenged by. It's changed my relationship with my husband because it used to be that, he'd be like, "So what do you want for dinner?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, whatever you want, honey." Now I'm like, "You know what? Let's order a pizza." Or, "You know what? Let's go out." Or I'll actually suggest stuff. I'll have an idea in my head. I'm like, "Oh, how does this sound?" And I'll say something. And I asked him one day, like a couple months ago, I was like, "Have you noticed a difference in me?" And he's like, "Yeah." Because he used to say to me, he's like, "People walk all over you. You need to stand
Mhm.
up for yourself." He's commented that. We've been married for 7 years, and years ago he said that. And I remember it stuck with me because I was like, I don't know how not to let people walk on me. And I remember making that mental note, like, I don't know how. Like, thank you for noticing, but I don't know how to do that. Now I do.
Now you do. Yeah. So it taught you healthy boundaries.
Hmm. And speaking up, being grounded in my body, not leaving, not avoiding, not just going with the flow. Like, it's like, no, I get to be Susie. These are
Yeah.
my ideas, my thoughts, my feelings, and I'm happy about them. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not frozen anymore, so you can live your life. You can live. Mm. Well, it's certainly been an honor to be part of your process, Susie, and to watch you achieve the healing that you've achieved. And now I'm so grateful to also have you on our team where you're helping our students to build the business of their dreams. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And anybody that wants to get in touch with Susie, we will put her information in the show notes or in the description box below. So thank you, Susie, so much for joining us, for sharing your story. And I hope to have you back again soon and share the progress of your business and your healing with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I love being a part of Somagetics. I cannot talk. I mean, I'm here and I talk about it as much as I possibly can. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. And thanks everyone for listening. And thank you for letting us be part of your healing journey.